Hello there. Recently you might have seen the presentation that I gave about ancient aliens and some of the evidences that were provided for that and how well it stands up to scrutiny. One of the things I didn't talk about though when it related to extraterrestrials was something a little bit more contemporary in time and would also interest a lot of people, including in media and in real life, the idea of people actually encountering aliens in modern times, things that are usually categorized as close encounters of the third or fourth kind. Third, simply visiting them. Fourth, the abductions. And these have been going on for a while, of course, most especially with the UFO craze starting in the late 1940s, early 1950s. And the most common thing we see now are the grays, the gray skinned, relatively short but bulbous head and large eyed creatures. Now, could this be due to recent visitations because we have atomic weapons now, or who knows what sorts of reasons they might want to come by? Two possible hypotheses of what's going on here. One, that we are having these sorts of interesting encounters of the extraterrestrial sort, or it could be something more cultural, something a little more down to earth. How might we be able to compare the two? One interesting thing we could look at is the sorts of reports that are given by abductees or people who make these sorts of encounters and how they describe what they see. Are they consistent? Are they relative to their place in time or their culture? Or are we seeing a consistent pattern no matter where we go and if witnesses never have a chance to communicate with each other? We can actually test that hypothesis by basically doing a bit of a composite over time, and that's already been done for us actually, as we can see here. This was first put together by Joe Nickel back in the late 90s and had some updating, and basically you can see throughout time how the encounters change, that they're bounce around. Sometimes they're robotic, sometimes they're more other creatures, sometimes they look human. But the interesting bit perhaps is when they start becoming the gray guys, and this seems to only happen in the early 1960s with the story of Barney and Betty Hill and their alleged abduction. Now, after that point, we still have some diversity that we can see in that graph, and once we get to about the 80s or 90s, that becomes pretty much the consistent form that's seen. This could be accounted for then by the fact that the Hill story had become very famous and well known, and through the media then this became the dominant form because of that popularity. And otherwise, we see pretty good diversity. But what about the Barney and Betty Hill story? Could it just be the fact that there was this great cultural diversity, then the real thing happens, and now we keep seeing the real event over and over again? One interesting detail that might make us wonder is with the shape of the alien head, these sorts of features that we see. Again, before the Hills give their testimony under hypnosis in the mid-60s, we don't see these sorts of things in fiction or in fantasy or in any of the other stories that are given, with one exception. In this image, we have a creature that kind of fits that appearance. Again, we have the large gray head, the eyes kind of wrapping around, no nostrils or ears, the sort of thing that really fits the gray depiction. And this was from the Outer Limits, transmitted 12 days before Barney Hill gave his testimony. Coincidence? That the only thing that exists before that is fiction? And just a matter of days before, under hypnosis, the story is given with these sorts of creatures? This might indicate more of a cultural thing than the real deal. What do you think?